Bob Wagner might want to. I don't know where to start, but starting with our founding fathers, they did say that without honesty, the country will not work. And I believe they had a lot of laws in place that were intended to keep us honest and keep this a good Christian country. I graduated from college in 1972, so I was on campus when the potheads were there. And it took me 40 years to 35 years to realize that the potheads stayed on campus. The potheads taught socialism. And I really resent the fact that my government supported educating my children in socialism. I've been a capitalist all my life. I've got a degree in economics. I believe in capitalism. The Russians believed in capitalism. They believed in it when Kondratov studied it. Decided that the capitalistic system, you can't destroy it. The Russian scientist Kondratov decided this. And he said that it will regenerate itself on the average 53 years. And that's what it's done. And this is the 5th one, I believe. According to his theory, the government, if they'd have kept their hands out of it, it would have regenerated itself 12, 13 years ago. So the government isn't just meddling today. I can't blame Obama, or maybe Bush, or maybe even Clinton. We've all sat around and allowed it to happen. And I really resent that, I'm part of it too, that we all let this happen to our country. And our children haven't seen capitalism. They haven't seen a country with morals and values. We've all sat around and let the government outlaw God. And we've convinced our kids that the government can do better. And that isn't what our founding fathers stood for. And my own personal experience, I was into your office about 6 years ago to talk to you about holding up a loan guarantee from the Department of Agriculture for a packing plant in Rantoul, Illinois. I don't know if you've kept up on that, but it did declare bankruptcy in February, thanks to the lack of enforcement of our antitrust laws. And it cost me a considerable amount of money, and it cost a lot of good friends a lot of money over the last 5 years. And I believe because the government did not, they chose to ignore the antitrust laws, and they're still promoting it, in my opinion. I made a decision to get out of the swine business or pork production business 2 weeks ago, mainly because of the swine flu fiasco. And again, there was a lack of honesty that the government allowed that to go on for 6 months when they knew it was a lie and it was mislabeling. So I'm real disappointed in our country, and I hope that I appreciate the work you've done. I admire anybody that has gone to Washington like you have, and I'm sure your heart's in the right place. But there are things that we all need to stand up for, and if there's anything we can do to help support you in honest decisions, we'd really like to do that. Last but not least, I know your voting record on the murder of babies, and that's just not something that should be happening in a godly country.
Next we have Donald Thornton. David, is it Matson?
Yes. Yes, I'm David Matson from Poignant. I'd like to thank you for showing yourself. I was trying to find you all August. and so many before me have said I'm not a good public speaker, so I'll concentrate on the one point. The thing that got me off my butt to get here today was this week when the Senate committee would not voted down the amendment to allow 3 days for us to look at legislation on the amendment.
Right.
And President Obama promised us 5 days, which is not enough, and it should be the legislature legislation that you folks are gonna vote on should be on the internet, in HTML and PDF, so we can have good access to it, and so that all the others that try to work for us and look out for this country could see it. And if I had an insurance salesman sitting at my kitchen table telling me that, oh, don't read this, you can't read this, sign up for this great deal, oh, and I'm not going to tell you how much it costs, okay? And after you sign, then maybe we'll go get into that. I will show him the door.
Rebecca Wallace. Welcome, Rebecca.
Well, first I guess I'd like to say that as a teenager, my family was in the system, the healthcare system. And I gotta say, it's a joke. The whole system, it creates a dependency on the government. It's not really there to help you out. It keeps you at poverty level, where I think, first of all, I don't think, my philosophy is, if the government doesn't need it to, if it's not an absolute must for the government to run, it shouldn't, the government shouldn't even have its hands on it. And so, but being that it is in places where it shouldn't be, the only time that I think that the government should be helping people, well, is to give them a boost up, not to keep them pushed down. I remember, my mom, she would, bless her heart, she'd be working all kinds of hours to provide ends meet for us, and she'd get a raise. And so she would make $1 a month too much. So they'd take away our $300 in food stamps. Now we're $299 in the hole. How does that help anybody? It creates a dependency of the people so that they have to depend on the government to take care of them. And that's what I see happening. So I don't think that a public option healthcare would be very good at all. I mean, it's just going to create a bigger dependency. And then my question that I'd really like to hear is, if the healthcare option is good enough for all of us, and yet you guys will refuse to take it, why is it good enough for us? I also have, sorry, I just messed up my mind. Oh yeah, other forms of, like everybody should have health insurance. You talked about better options for people, fighting obesity and quitting smoking and doing things like that. Why don't we focus on some of the things that are being put in our food? Then we talk about the big pharmaceutical companies. They make one drug that covers up, one symptom and then causes a million other symptoms. Why aren't we focusing on some of these things? Because I know that, I know several people that are on pills that if they didn't have to be on the first pill, they wouldn't have to be on the next pill, and the next pill, and the next pill, and the next pill. And then they wouldn't be spending so much money, and then, it's a dominoes effect. So why aren't we putting a little more energy into other things? Why are we going straight to government options? Why don't we exhaust every other option that there is out there before we go to a big government? That's what we see with Obama. Why do we want to go there? Why can't we just stay, let it fix itself, like they said? So I guess I'm done.